Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, Jayden.reads. So, okay, I just want to start off by saying I know that I am like sitting in a weird spot and that I've never filmed here before, but my husband and I are in the process of moving, and so everything is crazy everywhere, and I just wanted to, I guess, like sit in a spot that wasn't, oh my hair. Every video but I just wanted to sit in a spot that like wasn't so hectic and chaotic so that I felt like I could talk, and also so that it wasn't super distracting in the video. So I won't be sitting here in like many videos because we're moving pretty soon, and then I should have a nice place set up to film. So yeah, looking forward to that. But this is the third video in my Black Lives Matter challenge. I never know what to call it, but that I gave to myself. And I know I started this honestly like forever ago. But I did read the books pretty quickly, actually. I read the books, like I said, like pretty in order, and I was done with them quite a while ago. Just my only hang up has been making the videos because, like I said, we're in the middle of moving. I just barely found out that I will be teaching, and so there's been a lot of like gathering materials and trying to get things ready with that. And then also I'm in my last semester of my undergrad, which I'm so happy about, but it's just a lot. It's a full-time schedule, like taking as many credits as were allowed so that I could graduate, and it's all online, which is just, you know, it's a different format for me. It's something that I'm not used to, and it's a lot of work. And it's also summer semester, so everything's really condensed, and just basically, yeah, I never really have any free time because honestly, even right now, clue you guys in on a secret, I'm supposed to be writing a paper on autism right now, and instead I'm doing this because I'm so done with writing papers and taking tests and studying, and yeah, so I'll get to it. It's not due until tomorrow, like I have time, but yeah, I wanted to finish it, but filming instead. So anyway, enough of me blabbering on about not really anything. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about the hate you give. And I mentioned this, I think, in like my kind of like TBR video for this, but I don't know why I never picked up this book before. Honestly, it was incredible. I will say there's quite a bit of strong language in the book, and I know that in past videos I've said that that really bothers me, and it does bother me if I feel like there isn't a purpose for it. But in this particular book, I felt like it fit the tone of the book and also helped kind of convey the seriousness of everything that was going on. So just to give you like a brief synopsis of what The Hate You Give is about, there's this girl named Star Carter, and she has a friend named Khalil, and they're both at a party one night. I think it's just kind of like a house party, you know, there's a bunch of kids there, and some other kids end up getting into a fight and fire off a gun. And so police get called, people are coming over to like see what's going on. And you know, most people know that's not necessarily a situation you want to be around, not because like the police are coming, but because, I mean, people have firearms. It's not a safe place to be. And so Khalil is like, hey Star, I have a car, I can give you a ride home. And she's really grateful for that, you know, she wants to be safe and everything. So she gets in the car with him and they're driving away, and a police officer pulls them over, and you know, they're thinking, oh, maybe it's because we were at the party or something. But he pulls them over and he says that like Khalil was speeding, even though he wasn't. They were going really slow in a neighborhood, if I'm remembering this all correctly. The police officer is just kind of harassing Khalil, just kind of like giving him all of these orders and telling him like, get out, like do all these different things. And Khalil doesn't want to, and like doesn't feel safe, and is really, really afraid. But the police officer makes Khalil get out of the car and pats him down, if I remember, like 3 different times, looking to see if Khalil had anything on him, and he didn't. So then from what I remember, I don't know why this part is like shaky in my memory. I think it was like really, really hard to read. But he either leaned in to ask Star if she was okay, or he reached in his back pocket to grab a comb. I know he did. I think he reached in his back pocket to grab the comb. The police officer, even though he had patted him down 3 different times, immediately assumed that Khalil was reaching for a gun, and he felt afraid for his life, and he shot Khalil and killed him. And then he made Star get out of the car, and so she had to sit there and like watch her friend die, and she was held at gunpoint until other people could come, like the ambulance and other officers, to check out the situation. You know, it's just absolutely crazy. It's crazy to think that, like, I know this is a work of fiction, but it's crazy to me to think that the officer could claim that his life was in danger when he had patted Khalil down 3 times, and like clearly if he had a gun he would have noticed, right? Like the officer would have noticed. I think like the sad thing about books like this is that I feel like a lot of people would just read them and be like, that is so unrealistic, that would never happen. And sorry for my kind of, you know, teasing tone, but it's just like, well, read the news, look around, like stuff like this happens all the time, and it's not okay, and it is racial profiling, and it is discrimination, and it is racism. And yeah, it's just crazy to me that people like don't see that or try to play like that's not what it is and that's not what happened. There are a couple of things that I want to cover in here, just a couple little areas that I want to talk about. I also know that my last video, my blended video, was like 40 minutes long, and so I don't want to do that here. I want to keep it like short and sweet so that the message gets across, because like the message is the most important thing, and people might not listen if it's a longer video. So I want to keep it short and just go through some of like the main points that I think are important to talk about. And then at the end, I'm going to include some clips. So I went to a protest a while ago with my husband for Black Lives Matter, and everybody was wearing masks and we were keeping our distance. Still maybe wasn't the safest thing with COVID, but it felt important. I don't know, we haven't gone to one since then because it's hard to know what to do. But it was really, really powerful and really impactful, and I wish that we were not in the middle of a worldwide pandemic so that I could just attend every single one. But I have some footage, and I was like standing in kind of a weird spot because we were like at the courthouse. I was like on the side by the stairs. It's this weird spot. But anyway, I want to include that footage and then try to write in what the protester, or not the protester, but there was a speaker. So it was like there was the march and then the protest, and there were speakers at the protest. And so I want to kind of, you know, write down some of his words and have them be on the screen, just because I want to make my channel a platform where everybody can feel heard, and because this isn't an experience that I personally have had, I want to give voice to people who have had this experience. So anyway, don't know why I said all that right now, but let's talk about the book and then I'll insert those clips. This point in the book, I think, is so important to go over and incredibly valuable to talk about. So what's happening in this is that it's been revealed that Star was the other person in the car when Khalil was shot and killed. And so she's been asked to come in and talk to police and detectives so that they can determine if it was a wrongful death. If it mentions it in here, she has an uncle, Uncle Carlos, and he is a police officer, just in case that comes up. So they're sitting at the table in the interrogation room, and her mom is with her. We sit at the table. She's still holding my hand, her mom, when the 2 detectives come in. A young white guy with slick black hair and a Latina with lines around her mouth and a spiky haircut. Both of them wore guns on their waists. Keep your hands visible. No sudden moves. Only speak when spoken to. The book explains that those 3 lines are things that Black children are taught growing up by their parents for if they ever have an interaction with the police, because parents know that it isn't safe for their kids to have these interactions even if their kids are doing nothing wrong. Hi, Star and Mrs. Carter, the woman says, holding out her hand. I'm Detective Gomez, and this is my partner, Detective Wilkes. I let go of my mom's hand to shake the detective's hands. Hello. My voice is changing already. It happens around other people, whether I'm at Williamson or not. That's her school. I don't talk like me or sound like me. I choose every word carefully and make sure I pronounce them well. I can never, ever let anyone think I'm ghetto. It's so nice to meet you both, Wilkes says. Considering the circumstances, I wouldn't call it nice, says Mama. Wilkes' face and neck get extremely red. What he means is we've heard so much about you both, Gomez says. Carlos always gushes about his wonderful family. We feel like we know you already. She's laying it on extra thick. Please, have a seat. Gomez points to a chair, and she and Wilkes sit across from us. Just so you know, you're being recorded, but it's simply so we can have Star's statement on record. Okay, I say. There it is again. All perky and stuff. It swears, but I'm not going to say the swears, personally. I'm never perky. Detective Gomez gives the date and time and the names of the people in the room and reminds us that we're being recorded. Wilkes scribbles in his notebook. Mama rubs my back. For a moment, there's only the sound of pencil on paper. All right then. Gomez adjusts herself in her chair and smiles, the lines around her mouth deepening. Don't be nervous, Star. You haven't done anything wrong. We just want to know what happened. I know I haven't done anything wrong, I think, but it comes out as, yes, ma'am. How long did you know Khalil? Since I was 3. His grandmother used to babysit me. Wow, she says, all teacher-like, stretching out the word. That's a long time. Can you tell us what happened the night of the incident? You mean the night he was killed? Shoot. Gomez's smile dims. The lines around her mouth aren't deep, but she says, the night of the incident, yes. Start where you feel comfortable. I look at Mama. She nods. My friend Kenya and I went to a house party hosted by a guy named Darius. I say, thump, thump, thump. I drum the table. Stop. No sudden moves. I lay my hands flat to keep them visible. He has one every spring break, I say. Khalil saw me, came over, and said hello. Do you know why he was at the party? Gomez asks. Why does anybody go to a party? To party? I assume it was for recreational purposes, I say. He and I talked about things going on in our lives. What kind of things? She questions. His grandmother has cancer, and I didn't know until he told me that evening. I see, Gomez says. What happened after that? A fight occurred at the party, so we left together in his car. Khalil didn't have anything to do with the fight? I raise an eyebrow. Nah. Darn it, proper English. I sit up straight. I mean, no ma'am, we were talking when the fight occurred. Okay, so you two left. Where were you going? He offered to take me home or to my father's grocery store. Before we could decide, 115 pulled us over. Who? She asks. The officer. That's his badge number. I say. I remember it. Wilkes scribbles. I see, Gomez says. Can you describe what happened next? I don't think I'll ever forget what happened, but saying it out loud, that's different. And hard. My eyes prickle. I blink, staring at the table. Mama rubs my back. Look up, Star. My parents have this thing where they never want me or my brothers to talk to somebody without looking them in their eyes. They claim that a person's eyes say more than their mouth, and that it goes both ways. If we look someone in the eyes and mean what we say, they should have little reason to doubt us. I look at Gomez. Khalil pulled over to one side of the road and turned the ignition off. I say. 115 put his brights on. He approached the window and asked Khalil for his license and registration. Did Khalil comply? Gomez asks. He asked why the officer pulled us over first. Then he showed his license and registration. Did Khalil seem irate during this exchange? Annoyed, not irate, I say. He felt that the cop was harassing him. Did he tell you this? No, but I could tell. I assumed the same thing myself. Shoot. Gomez scoots closer. Maroon lipstick stains her teeth, and her breath smells like coffee. And why was that? Breathe. The room isn't hot. You're nervous. Because we weren't doing anything wrong, I say. Khalil wasn't speeding or driving recklessly. It didn't seem like he had a reason to pull us over. I see. What happened next? The officer forced Khalil out of the car. Forced? She says. Yes, ma'am, he pulled him out. Because Khalil was hesitant, right? Mama makes this throaty sound, like she was about to say something, but stopped herself. She purses her lips and rubs my back in circles. I remember what Daddy said. Don't let them put words in your mouth. No, ma'am, I say to Gomez. He was getting out on his own and the officer yanked him the rest of the way. She says, I see again, but she didn't see it, so she probably doesn't believe it. What happened next? She asks. The officer patted Khalil down 3 times. 3? Yeah, I counted. Yes, ma'am. He didn't find anything. He then told Khalil to stay put while he ran his license and registration. But Khalil didn't stay put, did he? She says. He didn't pull the trigger on himself either. Oh, shoot. Your big mouth. The detectives glance at each other. A moment of silent conversation. The wall is moving closer. The grip around my lungs returns. I pull my shirt away from my neck. I think we're done for today, Mama says, taking my hand as she starts to stand up. But Mrs. Carter, we're not finished. I don't care. Mom, I say, and she looks down at me. It's okay. I can do this. She gives them a glare similar to the one she gives me and my brothers when we've pushed her to her limit. She sits down, but holds onto my hand. Okay, Gomez says. So he patted Khalil down and told him he would check his license and registration. What next? Khalil opened the driver's side door and... Pow, pow, pow. Blood. Tears crawl down my cheeks. I wipe them on my arm. The officer shot him. Do you... Gomez starts, but Mama holds a finger toward her. Could you please give her a second? She says. It sounds more like an order than a question. Gomez doesn't say anything. Wilkes scribbles some more. My mom wipes some of my tears for me. Whenever you're ready, she says. I swallow the lump in my throat and nod. Okay, Gomez says and takes a deep breath. Do you know why Khalil came to the door, Star? I think he was coming to ask if I was okay. You think? I'm not a telepath. Yes, ma'am. He started asking but didn't finish because the officer shot him in the back. More salty tears fall on my lips. Gomez leans across the table. We all want to get to the bottom of this, Star. We appreciate your cooperation. I understand this is hard right now. I wipe my face on my arm again. Yeah. She smiles and says in that same sugary, sympathetic tone, Now, do you know if Khalil sold narcotics? Pause. What the F? My tears stop. For real. My eyes get dry with the quickness. Before I can say anything, my mom goes, What does that have to do with anything? It's only a question, Gomez says. Do you, Star? All the sympathy, the smiles, the understanding. This chick was baiting me. Now here's the really important part. Investigating or justifying? I know the answer to her question. I knew it when I saw Khalil at the party. He never wore new shoes. And jewelry? Those little 99-cent chains he bought at the beauty supply store don't count. Miss Rosalie just confirmed it. But what the heck does that have to do with him getting murdered? Is that supposed to make all of this okay? Gomez tilts her head. Star, can you please answer the question? I refuse to make them feel better about killing my friend. I straighten up, look Gomez dead in her eyes, and say, I never saw him sell drugs or do drugs. But do you know if he sold them? She asks. He never told me he did, which is true. Khalil never flat out admitted it to me. Do you have knowledge of him selling things? I heard things. Also true. She sighs. I see. Do you know if he was involved with the King Lords? No. The Garden Disciples? No. Did you consume any alcohol at the party? She asks. I know that move from Law and Order. She's trying to discredit me. No, I don't drink. Did Khalil? Whoa, wait 1 second, Mama says. Are y'all putting Khalil and Star on trial or the cop who killed him? Wilkes looks up from his notes. I don't understand, Miss Carter, Gomez sputters. You haven't asked my child about that cop yet, Mama says. You keep asking her about Khalil, like he's the reason he's dead. Like she said, he didn't pull the trigger on himself. We just want the whole picture, Miss Carter, that's all. 115 killed him, I say, and he wasn't doing anything wrong. How much of a bigger picture do you need? 15 minutes later, I leave the police station with my mom. Both of us know the same thing. This is gonna be some BS. So the reason that I felt like that was so important to talk about is because this comes up all the time. And I hate it. I know I'm laughing and smiling, but it's just like, I do not mean to be derogatory in any way, but to me, I just feel like, if I'm speaking my honest opinion, like how absolutely stupid can you be to think that like that's a justification? Because it had nothing to do with what he was doing at the time. What I mean is that like if Khalil had been dealing drugs, that had nothing to do with him getting shot at that moment. And also it's important to remember that we do already have a justice system set in place. And I may disagree with the way that it's been set up and personally think that the justice system is extremely broken and needs to be revisited. But that being said, we as a country have punishments, I guess, in place for people who sell drugs. And that is to go to prison and maybe pay a fine. The penalty is not to be murdered. And so saying, oh, he sold drugs or he was on drugs or anything like that is not a justification to murder someone, especially if you're a police officer who has training. Khalil, I know once again this is a fictional story, but it doesn't take long to see the links to our actual world and what's actually happening, and especially the murder of George Floyd. The police officer in no way had a right to say he felt his life was in danger because Khalil wasn't doing anything that should have been scary, and police officers should learn de-escalation techniques in case they do feel that way. I guess I can't say that he didn't feel that, but I don't see any justification for it. And that being said, we have a system in place for when someone is doing drugs. That may be illegal, but we have a system in place, and the system is not to murder them. And so the police officer in this story, 115, broke the law, and it should be treated as such. It shouldn't be justified. And I think that the book did a brilliant job illustrating that. Another part that I want to talk about is Star is really, really good at basketball. She loves basketball. She plays at her school, and her parents sent her to this mostly white school because they wanted her to go to a better school than the schools in her neighborhood. Because, you know, another part of systemic racism is that public schools get funded by the communities that they're in. And so if you live in a poor community, you're going to have a poorer school with fewer resources and teachers that don't get paid as much, and lower quality textbooks and equipment and after school programs and all of those awesome things. Totally fair, if you ask me. So anyway, Star's family sent her to a different school so that she could have a better educational opportunity. And it's during gym class, and she's playing basketball, some of the girls versus some of the boys, and she's playing with the girls that are, I'm not explaining this well, but the two girls she's playing with are her best friends, Haley and Maya. And Haley is white, and Maya is, I don't remember. I know that she is Asian, but that is a big, I feel like, overgeneralization, especially having lived in Japan. But I don't remember exactly which country her family is from, so sorry. But so they're playing basketball, and Star's friend Haley wants her to throw the ball to her, basically. So, dang it, Star, Haley yells, recovering the ball. She passes it to me. Hustle! Pretend the ball is some fried chicken. Bet you'll stay on it then. What the actual F? The world surges forward without me. I hold the ball and stare at Haley as she jogs away, blue streaked hair bouncing behind her. I can't believe she said she couldn't have. No way. The ball falls out of my hands. I walk off the court. I'm breathing hard and my eyes burn. The smell of post-game funk lingers in the girls' locker room. It's my place of solace when we lose a game, where I can cry or cuss if I want. I pace from one side of the lockers to the other. Haley and Maya rush in, out of breath. "What's up with you?" Haley asks. "Me?" I say, my voice bouncing off the lockers. "What the heck was that comment?" "Lighten up, it was only game talk." "A fried chicken joke was only game talk? Really?" I ask. "It's fried chicken day," she says. "You and Maya were just joking about it. What are you trying to say?" I keep pacing. Her eyes widen. "Oh my gosh. You think I was being racist?" I look at her. "You made a fried chicken comment to the only black girl in the room. What do you think?" "Holy cow, Star. Seriously? After all we've been through, you think I'm racist? Really?" "You can say something racist and not be a racist." "Is something else going on, Star?" Maya asks. "Why does everyone keep asking me that?" I snap. "Because you're acting so weird lately." Haley snaps back. She looks at me and asks, "Does this have something to do with the police shooting that drug dealer in your neighborhood?" "What?" "I heard about it on the news," she asks, "and I know you're into that sort of thing now." "That sort of thing? What the F is that sort of thing?" And when they said the drug dealer's name was Khalil, she says, and exchanges a look with Maya, "We've wanted to ask if it was the Khalil who used to come to your birthday parties," Maya adds. "We didn't know how, though." The drug dealer. That's how they see him. It doesn't matter that he's suspected of doing it. Drug dealer is louder than suspected ever will be. If it's revealed that I was in the car, what will that make me? The thug ghetto girl with the drug dealer? What will my teachers think about me? My friends? The whole world, possibly. Okay. I really don't know how to talk about this in the kindest, most polite way, but I felt like that was really important to talk about and to read, because a lot of people will make extremely racist comments or do things that are racist or defend racist actions, and then when people call them out, they'll come back and say, "Who, me? Couldn't be. Like, I'm not racist at all." And it's just, it's not up to you to say, right? Like, that is something that I have learned so much growing up, that your intention doesn't matter. And what I mean by that is that, say with my husband and I, we have this like really funny story example thing where he wanted to watch The Mandalorian one night and I wanted to sit by him and read. And The Mandalorian is like a really dark TV show. It's hard to see what's on the screen. And I asked him if we could turn the light on so that I could like see the words of my book while he watched the show, because I wanted to be out in the living room by him. And he said, "No, because if you do that, then I won't be able to see the screen." And I responded in kind of a teasing way saying, "Oh, you'll be just fine. Like, just let me turn it on." And that was really offensive to him. And I didn't mean any offense by it, but he read into it because in his life, when people say like, "Oh, you're just fine," like he's equated that to meaning you're just being a baby, or you're being like overly dramatic, or just, you know, like really discounting his experience. And that really hurt his feelings and made him feel bad. And when he told me, it wouldn't have done anything to solve the problem if I would have said, "Hey, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, so you can't be mad. Hey, I'm not at fault here. Hey, you're just being dramatic." No, that doesn't solve the problem. I didn't mean to hurt his feelings, and when I found out that I did, if I really cared about his feelings, I would do what I did. But, you know, say, "Oh my gosh, I'm really sorry. I didn't know that you were sensitive to that phrase, and I won't use it again with you. This is what I actually meant." And then we were able to move on. But it doesn't do any good for me to just sit there and deny him and to say, "Hey, nope, this isn't offensive. No, I don't care what you say. It's not offensive to you because I didn't mean it to be." I don't get to decide that. I don't get to decide what hurts his feelings. And you do not get to decide what is racist or what hurts someone else's feelings, even if you didn't mean it. And you need to know that. Okay. So this last part that I want to read in the book, I'm just hoping it doesn't make this video super long, but it's important. Yeah, it's really, really important, and I'm gonna have some words that I'm gonna have to skip over, but this is something that I think a lot of people need to hear. And once again, I'm not trying to be like preachy. I'm not trying to say that I know and understand everything about the world, because I don't, but what I like is what this book taught me about things. And so, yeah, I'm just gonna let the book teach us. So in this scene, Star and her dad are driving to the store that her dad owns, and they're talking in the car. And her dad is like obsessed with Tupac. So they're listening to Tupac talking about that. And her dad says, "Rappers nowadays only care about money, hoes, and clothes." "Showing your age," I whisper. "Pac," meaning Tupac, "rapped about that stuff too, yeah? But he also cared about uplifting black people," Daddy says. Like, he took the word, the N-word, and gave it a whole new meaning. A whole new meaning. Never ignorant, getting goals accomplished. So he took like the first letters of the N-word and then, gave it never ignorant, getting goals accomplished. And he said thug life meant the hate you give little infants F's everybody. I censor myself. This is my daddy I'm talking to, You know about that? Yeah. Khalil told me what he thought it means. We were listening to Tupac right before. So what do you think it means? You don't know? I ask. I know. I want to hear what you think. Here he goes, picking my brain. Khalil said it's about what society feeds us as youth and how it comes back and bites them later. I say, I think it's about more than youth, though. I think it's about us, period. Us who? He asks. Black people, minorities, poor people, everybody at the bottom in society. The oppressed, says Daddy. Yeah, we're the ones who get the short end of the stick, but we're the ones they fear the most. That's why the government targeted the Black Panthers, right? Because they were scared of the Panthers. Uh-huh, Daddy says. The Panthers educated and empowered the people. That tactic of empowering the oppressed goes back even further than the Panthers, though. Name one. Is he serious? He always makes me think. This one takes me a second. The slave rebellion of 1831, I say. Nat Turner empowered and educated other slaves, and it led to one of the biggest slave revolts in history. Aye, you on it, he gives me a dap. So what's the hate they give in the little infants in society today? Racism? You gotta get a little more detailed than that. Think about Khalil and his whole situation, before he died. He was a drug dealer. It hurts to say that. And possibly a gang member. Why was he a drug dealer? Why are so many people in our neighborhood drug dealers? I remember what Khalil said. He got tired of choosing between lights and food. They need money, I say, and they don't have a lot of other ways to get it. Right. Lack of opportunities, Daddy says. Corporate America don't bring jobs to our communities, and they dang sure ain't quick to hire us. Then, shoot, even if you do have a high school diploma, so many of the schools in our neighborhood don't prepare us well enough. That's why when your mama talked about sending you and your brothers to Williamson, I agreed. Our schools don't get the resources to equip you like Williamson does. It's easier to find some crack than it is to find a good school around here. Now think about this, he says. How did the drugs even get in our neighborhood? This is a multi-billion-dollar industry we talking about, baby. That stuff is flown into our communities, but I don't know anybody with a private jet. Do you? No. Exactly. Drugs come from somewhere, and they're destroying our community. You got folks like Brenda, who is Khalil's mom, who think they need them to survive. And then you've got the Khalils, who think they need to sell them to survive. The Brendas can't get jobs unless they're clean, and they can't pay for rehab unless they got jobs. When the Khalils get arrested for selling drugs, they either spend most of their life in prison, another billion-dollar industry, or they have a hard time getting a real job and probably start selling drugs again. That's the hate they're giving us, baby. A system designed against us. That's thug life. I hear you, but Khalil didn't have to sell drugs, I say. You stopped doing it. True, but unless you're in his shoes, don't judge him. It's easier to fall into that life than it is to stay out of it, especially in a situation like his. Now, one more question. Really? Dang, he's messed with my head enough. Yeah, really? He mocks in a high voice. I don't even sound like that. After everything I've said, how does thug life apply to the protests and riots? I have to think about that one for a minute. Everyone's pissed because 115 hasn't been charged, I say. But also because he's not the first one to do something like this and get away with it. It's been happening, and people will keep rioting until it changes. So, I guess the system's still giving hate, and everybody's still getting effed. Daddy laughs and gives me a dap. My girl, watch your mouth. But yeah, that's about right. And we won't stop getting effed till it changes. That's the key. It's gotta change. A lump forms in my throat as the truth hits me. Hard. That's why people are speaking out, huh? Because it won't change if we don't say something. Exactly. We can't be silent. So, I can't be silent. Daddy stills. He looks at me. I see the fight in his eyes. I matter more to him than a movement. I'm his baby, and I'll always be his baby. And if being silent means I'm safe, he's all for it. This is bigger than me and Khalil, though. This is about us, with a capital U. Everybody who looks like us, feels like us, and is experiencing this pain with us, despite not knowing me or Khalil. My silence isn't helping us. Daddy fixes his gaze on the road ahead. He nods. Yeah, can't be silent. And to go along with that, I'm now going to insert the footage of the man who was not silent at the protest in my community.
An anxiety I feel at the prospect of 4 more years of the current political and social climate. If you sat with me, you would learn of the trauma I had experienced overhearing the man in charge of the military say, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. You would learn of the trauma I experienced when I saw a line of police officers on horseback and tear gas being used on peaceful protesters, reminiscent of Bloody Sunday on March 7, 1965 in Selma, Alabama. You would learn that the priorities, words, deeds of the president put him on par with the most ardent racist and segregationist deep South mayors, public safety commissioners, and governors that we say we disavow in the civil rights era. You can stand by me with not voting along party lines, but voting to ensure that this country is less dangerous, not more dangerous, for me, my children, and people of color in this country. If you sat with me, you would learn about my deep admiration for Congressman John Lewis, the lifelong activism of Rosa Parks, and the agitated, aggressive, nonviolent tactics of Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth. If you stand with me, you will incorporate the history of all people of color and weave them inextricably into the current discourse in order to create a history of this nation that is as much Revolutionary War as it is Black freedom struggle. That is as much the legacy of the Founding Fathers as it is the legacy of Kamehameha. That is as much Pioneer Trek as it is Trail of Tears. In conclusion, you should sit so much with people of color that your backside's in pain. You should listen so much to people of color that your ears burn. You should be processing and thinking things so intently it feels like your head will explode. You should feel so much what they feel that your soul is exhausted. You should be caring so much that your body feels like it can hardly contain your heart. And then, when you've sat too long, listened even more, and felt deeper than you ever felt before, then walking, marching, running, and kneeling required to stand with me will feel like a welcome relief.
And to end this video, sorry, I know it's probably going to be long, even though I didn't want it to be, I do want to say that I absolutely love this book. I cannot recommend it enough. No matter how much you think you know about this movement, there's always more to learn. And I think that, yeah, this book is an amazing resource. And I know I didn't necessarily talk about my feelings towards the book as much as just share portions of it and why it's important. But that was definitely my goal. I wanted this book to speak the truth that are in its pages and to be able to share some of that with you. And so to end, I'm just going to read, sorry, I know there's been a lot of reading, but I'm just going to read the last little bit of the book because it's so powerful. Once upon a time, there was a hazel-eyed boy with dimples. I called him Khalil. The world called him a thug. He lived, but not nearly long enough, and for the rest of my life, I'll remember how he died. Fairy tale? No. But I'm not giving up on a better ending. It would be easy to quit if it was just about me, Khalil, that night, and that cop. It's about way more than that, though. It's about Seven, Sukani, Kenya, Devonte, who are characters in the book. It's also about Oscar, Ayana, Trayvon, Rakia, Michael, Eric, Tamir, John, Ezel, Sandra, Freddie, Alton, Philando. It's even about that little boy in 1955 who nobody recognized at first, Emmett. The messed up part? There are so many more. Yet I think it'll change one day. How? I don't know. When? I definitely don't know. Why? Because there will always be somebody ready to fight. Maybe it's my turn. Others are fighting too, even in the garden, where sometimes it feels like there's not a lot worth fighting for. Dang it. People are realizing and shouting and marching and demanding. They're not forgetting. I think that's the most important part. Khalil, I'll never forget. I'll never give up. I'll never be quiet. I promise.